history, my own sense of place, where I sit now as a millennial, as an African American woman, just all sorts of that I decided to put in this first volume of essays. And so this evening I'm going to read from a couple sections. One is on family, and quite a few family are here, so you can get a sense of who I am, not just from this chapter, but from, talking with my various family members that are here. And then a little technical. I'll talk about some of that part more, and then I'll get into another piece of the book that's more technical and more focused on just my theories and sort of manifesto around this sense of place. So just to get started, then we'll go ahead and read the part of the book, and there's 4 parts. There's heart, there's mobility, there's the market, and there's the commons. And this is a huge section of the heart chapter, and it's about my parents. So we'll get right into it. Before smartphones made getting directions as simple as barking 2 street names into your phone, people needed to learn how to read maps. Fortunately, I had a father with a box full of them, ready and willing to let me take my toy NASCARs from a Hardee's kids meal and let me drive all over the paper nation. He often mentioned wanting to drive out to California. I later found out that one of the jobs he had applied to post-retirement was as a cross-country truck driver. That was Dad, ever finding ways to overcome his personal obstacles and reach out for his dreams. One of the major ways Dad overcame obstacles was to get out of the house and walk. Even in my early years, there was nothing for me to accompany Dad on a walk over to the old Peck ball field just across Freeman Mill Road from our old house and take in a community softball game. I used to complain about it, but we would park at the food line at the corner of Chapman and Florida Streets and walk to events at the Greensboro Coliseum, namely the GYC Carnival. Downtown Greensboro was a bit desolate in my younger years, but I marveled at the new Jefferson Pilot and First Union Twin Towers. I missed said towers so much that when I was quarantined to my house for the chicken pox, Dad bought me a postcard of the new skyline so I wouldn't miss it. My dad's influence on my modes of transport was unmatched, with the exception of it being Mom that took me on my first Amtrak ride, but more on her in a minute. Dad always knew where to find a cheap bike. He also knew his way around riding his bike on even the worst roads, an extension of his ability to navigate some of those same roads on foot. One day, Mom and I saw Dad riding his bike down the on-ramp to the freeway portion of US 220 en route back to his house further down the road on Freeman Mill, which becomes an urban parkway with a speed limit of 45 and only a yellow bike sign urging drivers to share the road. He taught me the hand signals, the proper fastening of a helmet, to walk my bike up across places I didn't feel comfortable riding across, and to stand up to tackle tough hills. It was my fear of teasing by the neighborhood kids that made me walk away from neighborhood bike riding. It was not for lack of knowledge. However, I will say that Dad never took kindly to the city bus. Greensboro's buses only come every 30 minutes on some routes and every hour on others. I did the math once and figured out Dad could get anywhere he needed to go on foot within an hour. There's an essay about this in another book, but Dad's feet never failed him. Not until that day of his major car accident. Not until the day of the end of his life. My dad doesn't have any buildings named after him. I've let go of his house. After the accident, he struggled to walk down streets and no sidewalks. And he toddled along on his bike. When he got tired of fighting on street roads with both of those, he put money into a car he could barely afford. Yet he fixed up homes that weren't built well in the first place. He mowed yards that others couldn't maintain. He always had a song in his heart and brought music to any space. Finally, he made sure that I knew that people, all people, mattered. All these things are his legacy and his contribution to my heart. Mom kept the inside of that house on Rocket Street sparkling, full of food and full of music. Because both of them really cared, my yard was one of the more popular yards on the street. There were mud pies built, swings swung on, dogwood trees climbed, backyard softball games played, life-size globes sat on, and finally, there was that tent, the tent that Dad broke down and got me in, even though I never spent a night in it, even in the backyard. Mom, to this day, has always provided me a home to go back to, even when my pride has not made me appreciate what that role means. The current iteration of that home is in 1990s era suburbia, which is the enemy of every designer and planner who wants to make a name as a new urbanist. Yet, so many of us know that having a home, especially one that you own outright or have a firm grasp on the terms of its mortgage, is true wealth. Okay, true material wealth. My mom has plenty of that other kind of wealth too, the kind that comes from the heart. For many years, I shared my mom with the 6th and 7th graders at Jamestown Middle School, along with the younger teachers and her peers as I got older. The community that forms around kids who have parents as teachers or who worked in the same tight-knit office, plant, or other entity that employs grown-ups is unparalleled. It's a place-based community. It's not always the perfect place, the vibrant Main Street, the Central Public Park, but it is a place. In the case of my mom's school, each classroom was a home of its own, possessing both the characteristics of the subject matter taught and the values of the teacher. My mom's room reminded her students what it means to have good character, along with the steps of the scientific method. Mom always kept a library of her own, no matter what subject she taught. Speaking of libraries, it was she who brought me faithfully to the Greensboro Public Library branches for summer reading or just a regular day to recollect books. Her sister, my aunt, would ship me books, making me clamor for the sight and the sound of the big brown truck. Yet, it was Mom who, before she returned to the classroom, was my room mom, who helped me glue and edit my very first book, Strawberry Jam Takes a Walk, and the one from my 2nd grade year, Apricot Reserves Goes to a Birthday Party. She wouldn't let me leave her side of the UNC Greensboro Young Writers Day 1994. She still reads every single blog post, and she has read this book cover to cover. She's had her struggles too, but she's always provided me a home, given me space to write words, and made sure I read all the right books, especially the good book. Oh, and after she took me on the northbound Amtrak to Carolina when I was 5, I've clamored at every chance to take trains ever since. If you haven't already figured it out, much of my heart goes out to my parents. They would have automatically established my first sense of place by the natural act of being my parents. They are my biological parents, but even if they weren't, it would be my compass in this very busy and often confusing world. I have loads of other family members, friends, teachers, mentors, and the like that shape my worldview and how I see things. Yet it's my parents and their heart that have shaped my faith and my heart and my sense of place. I'd also like to take a moment to thank them for their patience through all of my panic attacks and car wrecks, especially the one where I backed Mom's car to a fire hydrant. Yeah, that happened. So I wanted to just really start with, and even though quite a few family members are here, I really wanted to give everybody a sense of where this idea actually came from. You know, I did my undergrad at NC State. I did it in communication. I came back here and did a master's in public affairs at UNCG. I've worked in various nonprofit organizations, but I've never been able to shake the idea of just wanting to engage more with the sense of place. When I went back to grad school, the idea was that I was going to go and do more urban planning, but writing just took over, and I just felt like I could do more at times just writing the book. So, and I decided this year that I wanted to engage more with my writing, so I added more legs to the blog. I've been able to go and speak on this in different areas, and I've really gotten a sense of being able to just sort of show more how my parents have influenced what's here. I mean, there have been times when I'm like, well, why am I so fascinated with this? I don't work in the industry per se. I don't have any buildings